Shabbat Shalom. The Torah reading that we read today includes a line where God says that if you do the good things, then yay, there's good things. If you don't do what I'm asking you to do, if you don't observe my laws, if you don't study my ways, I will punish you, God says, sevenfold. And the rabbis note that there are 7 punishments then in the book of Leviticus. It's chapter 25 as we go, or 26, as we go through. And the punishments are some pretty bad punishments. If you were reading along, pretty awful things that happen for punishments 1 and 2. And then you get to punishment 3 as you go through. And punishment 3 is that your roads will be empty. And as I was reading this, you think to yourself, that doesn't seem like such a punishment. No traffic? Like, what's my problem? What's the problem here? The other ones are like real bad. Crops are going to fail. People are going to be hurt. Like, it's not good. And the roads are going to be desolate. That's going to be one of our punishments. And it strikes the rabbis as a little odd as well. And so they go into some of their rabbinic ways of what does it mean that the roads are going to be desolate? What does that really mean? Is it that there's going to be no one on the roads? Is it that they're going to be full of potholes? Is it that the Romans are going to charge a lot of tolls? Like, all of which are not great, but still a little unclear of what this punishment actually is. And by way of telling you what I think this punishment is about, I want to tell you a little bit about the road trip that I took this week. Because as we said, we had the Paperclips trip. About 20 of us from the shul went to Whitwell, Tennessee. Whitwell, Tennessee is about 45 minutes outside of Chattanooga. Great line from the trip. Someone said, in Philadelphia, we don't really know where Whitwell is. And someone said, in Chattanooga, they don't really know where Whitwell is. Right? And so while everyone else on the trip flew there, I, for reasons that I'm going to tell you about now, I drove. It has nothing to do with the crippling fear of flying, and it has everything to do with my love of a long car trip. So 12 hours on the way down, 12 hours on the way back, a beautiful ride, like Smoky Mountains, Shenandoah, Highway 81 for so long, but it was an amazing trip. And I think, let's just do a quick show of hands, because I feel like the world is kind of divided in two on this. Lovers of a good road trip, raise your hand. Okay, total despisers of the road trip, raise your hand. All right, yeah, be honest. Oh, interesting, we have an age gap on that one. That's fascinating to me. We'll talk about that later. But so, for my road trip lovers, why do we love the open road? What is it about it? We get out into nature, right? You can see, I'm telling you guys, Highway 81, one of the most beautiful, 40s also great, right? 95s, whatever. But like they are gorgeous drives up through the mountains. You take a little detour, it's just incredible. I find that a long car trip gets me better in touch with myself, right? I'm disconnected from all of the things that, are with me all day long, right? Work, and I love my children, but my children, right? And they're not with you in the road, and you actually get to be more in touch with yourself as you leave the external things that usually demand our attention behind. It's also something that we're learning more about, and I don't know the science on this, and as our optometrist here, no, Josh isn't. So there's something, though, about focusing your eyes farther away, right? It actually changes the way that we think. Think for a moment, most of us spend most of our days with our eyes focused somewhere between, 6 inches in front of us versus, a foot in front of us, depending on how close you sit to your screen, right? But that's basically where our eyes focus. And by the way, just for fun, why not? Cases of nearsightedness in America are up 40% than they were 10 years ago. because none of us focus on anything beyond a few feet away. And when you're driving, you have the expansiveness that comes from driving. And by the way, it's not just about screens. Emerson writes about this, and he says, "To the body and mind which have been cramped by noxious work or company, nature is medicinal and restores their tone. The tradesman, the attorney, comes out of the din and craft of the street and sees the sky and the woods and is human once again. In their eternal calm, they find themselves. The health of the eye seems to demand a horizon," Emerson writes. "We are never tired so long as we can see far enough." Getting out on the road gives us a chance to see far away. It also lets us feel the humanity all around us. Because while we're driving, we're in our own little box hurtling down the road, but there's people all around us, and they're all strangers, every single one of them, right? And you stop at a rest stop or a gas station, and you meet strangers, and you talk to strangers, and you get the sense of what it is to be a part of a larger organism, larger than ourselves. It's something that John Koenig, who attempted to write a new dictionary of terms for the modern world, and he creates a world called Sunder. Don't worry, there's not going to be a quiz, but Sunder, he writes, is the realization that each random passerby is living a life as vivid and complex as your own. And that is a revelation of the road, my friends. As you are driving and you zip past a million houses and you zip past cars going by you, or they zip by you, depending on where you're driving, right? Or you stop and you see people at a gas station, at a rest stop, and you learn, right? There are a million stories happening all around you for which you are not the central character. They are. And that makes us feel both a little bit small, which is good, and also part of something large, which is good, right? Because we are a part of a larger organism. We find ourselves in that moment on the road. And part of that also means that we have to have trust in that organism. If you stop and think about it for a moment, a long distance drive involves an incredible amount of trust in people that you've never seen, heard of, or will meet. Right? Trust in the people who built the road or the bridge. That bridge from Baltimore here across that is terrifying, right? And you think to yourself, I really hope that whoever built this right, and that this isn't going to be the 1 millionth in one car that now it's going to crumble. Welcome to my brain. But the trust that we have in the people around us. We are all going 70 miles an hour in multi-ton hunks of metal and just thinking, well, I'm sure that person over there knows what they're doing and they're going to do it safely, and this person over here knows what they're doing and they're going to do it safely. And as the empty gauge goes down towards E, and you think to yourself, like, well, there will be a gas station, right? And you just know that there will be, because that's how this whole thing has been set up. Before I hit empty, I'm going to see a place, I'm going to pull over, there's going to be the little arrow that's like, beep, this way, and you can pull in. And yes, I did see the prices on the gas station going up as I drove by, right, and pulled in, but they're there, and there's fuel, and there's a lot of trust in an amazing system, by the way, an amazing system. It's the 70th anniversary this year of the Highway Act, in case you were wondering. It's 100 years since we started numbered highways, and for 1 million bonus points in the first brownie at Kiddush, what is the oldest turnpike in America? Pennsylvania Turnpike, known as the grandfather of the turnpike system. Mazel tov, Pennsylvania. Because we understand something that the Torah understood as well, which is that roads are not about just getting somewhere. They are about connection, community. They are about building towards something bigger than ourselves. They are about having trust in other people and other things. Right? What the rabbis go through this list of 7, And when it gets to the third one, they give a reason, right? The Midrash gives a reason for each one. So when it gives a third one of, right, so why the first problem is you didn't study enough Torah, obviously. The second problem is that made you not do enough mitzvot. Okay, fine. The third one, which the punishment for which is the desolation of our roads, is you were scornful of others. Scornful of others is what destroys the road system. Why? Because being scornful of others is what destroys the community. Being scornful of others breaks down the connections that these roads are meant to have for us. They're the things that we are supposed to do. And so God threatens the desolation of our roads, really meaning that society itself will break down. You will no longer be able to trust in the greater good of the community. And the rabbis, by the way, they put this into our laws, right? Building of public roads is seen as a public good in the Mishnah and the Talmud. It's one of the few things you can do on Chol HaMoed, in the intermediate days of the holiday. You can still fix a road because that's not about your personal, that's about the public good, right? And this is something that we need to be thinking about today, as well as in the ancient world. There's a lot of ways where it feels like we are living in a very low trust society right now. One need only look at the people trying to get onto a plane when it's not their turn in the right boarding group because they want to get their thing on because they don't trust that. I really don't like flying, guys, because right, we're in a low trust society and they don't think there's going to be enough room for them on the airplane or for their overhead or their whatever, right? And so people fight the way that they do. And it gets bigger than that, right? And we can all think of the ways in which the institutions on which we have been relying on are failing us now. We heard earlier this week of a tornado that was devastating, and it was devastating. It was in the middle of the country, right? Why? Because due to budget cuts, now the National Weather Service only puts out weather balloons once every other day instead of once a day. And so the people got a 10-minute warning for the tornado instead of a 13-hour warning for the tornado because we didn't have the information that we needed, that we rely on, right, for things like that to happen. To say nothing of whatever's happening with the health system and the CDC and the FDA and vaccines and the million ways in which we have in this country built public goods. I'm not trying to be political in any way, shape, or form. I'm talking about the ways in which we have built something bigger and better than ourselves that we can rely on. And the fact that some of these things we can no longer rely on is why we're all feeling angry and alone and adrift, because the things that used to bind us are crumbling around us, and the things that we used to trust someone was looking out for us, right? Whether will be a gas station, it will have fuel, is something that we're calling into question now. And 3,000 years ago, the Torah understood that you can't live that way in a society. We have to find a way to have trust in each other. And we have to find a way to build things that are for everyone, that we can all rely on in this world. And in a way of thinking about how to get back to that, I want to tell you just a little bit about the town that was at the end of my 12-hour drive. Because Whitwell, Tennessee, is a place full of people who understand what it means to build things together. Right? Whitwell, Tennessee, by the way, friends, it's a town of 1,600 people, 2 traffic lights, 14 churches, and a Walmart with a kosher section. When I was there, I saw the little sign that said kosher, and I was like, I have to see this. So I walked over, and what's in the kosher section of the Walmart in Whitwell, Tennessee? Pickles. Nothing but pickles. Just rows and rows of pickles. But in this town of 1,600 people, they work so hard to build things together and for each other. Now, these are people that I'm sure I don't agree with on everything that there is to agree with on. At Kiddush, ask me about the pastor that we did a program with who was a tremendously caring man We did a question and answer together, and after talking about how to read certain passages of the Bible, I pushed back on his way of reading a certain verse, and he says, the point is that I can respect you, I can even love you, even when you're dead wrong. And this is the same pastor, by the way, who has grown his church from a literal tent in a field to a thriving community, who supports people in their worst moments of their lives, and who, when his church needed to grow even more because he had grown it, he and a friend built an extension with their own two hands. Don't get any ideas. But these people in this town know how to build things, and they know how to do it together. To say nothing of the reason we went to Whitwell and we have this amazing relationship, that about 30 years ago, the principal of the local middle school wanted their kids to learn about tolerance and diversity in the absence of any actual diversity in the town of Whitwell, as she said. And so they decided, she and the social studies teacher, that learning about the Shoah, the Holocaust, was the way that they were going to teach people about tolerance. And so they did this whole project where they raised, you probably remember this, right? They tried to get 6 million paper clips. They got like 40 million paper clips now because everybody helped out and everyone's bringing things in. But what's amazing to me is, and friends who were on the trip, I don't know if you even caught this, right? They have this museum that they've set up at the school, and they have a whole area outside, and every time they talked about people helping, right? When we, in our community, when we say, oh, so-and-so, they help the synagogue a lot, mostly, I'm not looking right at Shauna for this, but mostly, right, what do we mean? Money, right, that they donated. When they were like, oh, this person helps, it was because anytime I need something, they regrout the tile in front of the thing. They show up and they build a new gazebo because it's raining over the rail car. While we were there, a woman came out and was watering the plants that were all around it. And I said, oh, hi, who are you? And she's like, I'm the guidance counselor of the school, right? But we all pitch in and we all help, and that's what we do. We build these things together. And it was inspiring. And what they've built is so inspiring, not only to the people there in that school, but the whole town. It permeates everything, to the point that we were at dinner at this church and someone was talking about, someone had made a not so tolerant remark, and everyone at the table said they must not be from Whitwell. And it was true, and they were like, oh no, they're from, I won't say where they were from, but they're from a different town, because the people in this town have come together, and that community that they've built goes in multiple directions. And it helps them feel a part of something bigger than themselves, and that gives them strength and confidence and tolerance in a place that would not always breed these things. So for all of us, we have to find ways to do this too. We can build in our own community. We can build our neighbors and friends, right? We need to know who they are. We should be curious about them. If we want to undo this curse of the desolate highways, the crumbling roads, the infrastructure that doesn't work anymore, we run back through what the rabbis say. Scorn of others is what causes it, so kindness and compassion and caring to others is what will fix it. And we need to find that in our hearts and in our community and our ability. And if we ever run out of inspiration, which is hard sometimes to not have scorn in our hearts for some of the things that we see, you can always get out on the highway, fix your eyes to the horizon, have an expansive view, feel bigger than the sum of your parts, be part of something larger, something that's 100 years old that has been built for us today and for future generations, and take comfort and strength and inspiration in that. Shabbat Shalom, friends.